welcome back. Border crossings are now at a 15-year low, thanks to President Trump's immigration crackdown. But deadly fentanyl is still flowing into America. More than 1,000 pounds of fentanyl was seized across the country last month alone, enough to kill more than 230 million people, the majority of people in America. President Trump says tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China will take effect next week on Tuesday because those countries are not doing enough to stop this crisis. Joining me now is U.S. Customs and Border Protection Senior Advisor Ronald Vitiello. Ronald, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. What is most important that we need to understand about the changing position of the border crossings right now?
Well, good morning, Maria. Thanks for inviting me. Yeah, what people need to know is that the Border Patrol, the front line of DHS, is back in business, largely due to the executive orders coming out of the White House. You know, the American people voted for a secure border and safe streets in America, and the men and women of the front line with the leadership of the Department of Homeland Security and the White House are making that happen. Like you said, we have an almost 100% reduction in the activity of illegal aliens crossing the border on the southwest border right now as we speak, 100% less than last year. That translates into more hours on patrol, more aircraft in the air, more people on the front line screening visitors that are coming into the United States, screening cargo and screening people. And so we're in a situation where the men and women on the front line are allowed to do their jobs in protecting us. And so they're able to do that now better because the activity is way down. Unprecedented support from the Department of State, the Department of Defense, the Department of Justice, Health and Human Services, all working together to make sure that people are still crossing are removed quickly and in agreements with our foreign partners to take their own people back.
Yeah, look, I think that it's good to see a whole of government working together on this, but I've got to say it's really rich to see these celebrities in Hollywood remark about President Trump's policies. The White House is firing back at filmmaker Michael Moore after he criticized the president's illegal migrant deportation policy, and the president's focusing on criminals. But Michael Moore writes a blog post suggesting that deported migrants could have cured cancer or stopped an asteroid that's going to hit us in 2032. Are we deporting all these people who could be geniuses? The White House calling his comments a strong contender for the dumbest statement of the year, while highlighting President Trump's efforts to expel illegal criminals out of America. Ronald, your reaction?
Well, people on the left, people in Hollywood, some people in Washington, you know, they're out of touch with what America voted for, what people want in the United States, which is a secure border, our national security to be at its utmost, and safe streets in America. And that includes finding people who are in the country illegally and have committed crimes in their own communities. And so that might not affect Michael Moore every single day. It affects hardworking Americans in every city and town in America. And they can be assured that the president is very enthusiastic about securing our borders, ending the scourge of fentanyl, and protecting the streets in America and removing criminals who are also in the country illegally.
Yeah, wow. Texas Congressman Morgan Luttrell, meanwhile, has introduced new legislation that would require DHS to report crimes committed by any migrant let in under the controversial Biden-era CHNV program. Ronald, tell us about that.
So under the previous administration, we know that the parole system was abused for a number of countries in the hemisphere, and people were let in on parole, without the kind of vetting that is appropriate. And parole is supposed to be an individualized setting. Not everybody from Cuba deserves to get paroled into the United States. And so that was happening under the last administration. It's now been ended. We've turned off at CBP, we've turned off the CBP One app and stopped the abuse of parole, stopped the release of people who come into the country illegally. And so the congressman here is looking to backstop what the front line can do and make sure that we're reporting. We're letting Americans know what the risks were in the last administration with a chaotic border and out of control. That's ended. The nonsense has ended. Now it's time to backstop what we're doing with resources and laws like this that help continue to protect America.
Ronald, I wonder what you think about President Trump's idea. He floated this idea this week of a Visa Gold Card for wealthy legal immigrants. He said the program would offer a path to citizenship for high net worth individuals who are willing to invest $5 million in the country. What do you think of that idea?
Well, I think it's a privilege to immigrate into the United States. Many of us in America have an immigration story in our background. And
That's
so
right.
allowing the business community to import people to the benefit of the United States, right? Our immigration system is supposed to serve Americans. And so this hits right at the bullseye of common sense in our country. We have people who have skills, knowledge, capability, and resources that want to come and live the American dream with a green card, or a gold card in this case. Why shouldn't we do that? It hits right down the pipe at common sense.
Yeah, I just wonder if the drug cartels are going to figure out a way to abuse that program, too.
Well, we have to be vigilant. That's why vetting is important. Vetting for everyone that comes, right?
Of course.
If you want to use that privilege, you got to prove to Americans that you're going to be a safe actor in the U.S.
Yeah, I mean, these are the basics. Vetting. I mean, vetting people coming in, and yet Joe Biden didn't think of it? Unbelievable. Ronald Vitiello, good to see you, sir. Thank you.